Greetings and welcome once more to Sonic Odyssey, the music video channel dedicated to bringing you the last 5 decades or so of music in review and discussion format. Before we dive into today's music, let's get the housekeeping out of the way real quickly. Be sure to like the video by clicking the thumbs up button below the video. Share the video through social media pages such as Facebook by clicking the share button, which is also below the video. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscribe button. And you'll see a little bell icon that appears next to it. If you click that as well, you'll also be notified each time I publish a new video. And I would also humbly ask you to please consider visiting my Patreon page. I have a Patreon account set up, the link for which is in the show description right below the video, so it's easy to get to. And you can also see a link in the show description below for all of the other videos that I've produced for the Sonic Odyssey YouTube home page. That's the housekeeping out of the way. Today we're going to be looking at and listening to a musician from Japan whose name is Akira Takasaki. Akira Takasaki is best known for being in the band Loudness and is also a musician who has put out a few solo albums. I think roughly 7 or 8 solo albums over the past 25-30 years. So he's had a rather productive career. If you look at the discography of his band Loudness and his solo career, he's really amassed quite a volume of releases. But today we're going to be looking specifically at the 1994 solo release, Key. Akira Takasaki was born in Osaka, Japan in 1961 and came to prominence at the age of 14 on a television variety show, contest show, where he played guitar and received a contract to become part of a pop band by the name of Lazy, which just so happened to have a drummer by the name of Munetaka Higuchi. Lazy was kind of popular, but they were a pop rock band, and both Akira and Munetaka decided to form Loudness, and they began to work together with Minoru Nahara on vocals and Masayoshi Yamashita on bass guitar as the group Loudness. But again, we are looking at Akira's solo work. His first solo album was released in 1982, and that was called Tusk of Jaguar. And it was decently received in Japan, but didn't get much acclaim outside of Japan. Likewise, it was the case with the album we're looking at today, which was 12 years after he had released Tusk of Jaguar. Key is an album that was released in Japan. I don't think it ever saw an American release until its 2015 remaster. But I happened to pick up, in 1994, I happened to pick up a imported copy of the CD in New Jersey while I still lived there. And it is quite a spectacular album. Key is an album that sees Akira Takasaki not only doing the guitar work with multiple layers of guitar work throughout the mixing of the music, but he also plays the bass guitar and handles drums on a couple of tracks. He has only a few session musicians, primarily for drumming, and one musician comes in to handle piano duties on the closing track, Voodoo Bows, which is a song we'll be listening to later. Key is an album which is categorized as heavy metal, but it's sort of a fusion album as well. It's not just heavy metal. It has jazz elements, it has rock elements, it's got unique oriental elements to it. It's really a very diverse album. And another thing about it is that it's not just a showcase for Akira Takasaki to perform his most virtuosic pieces. It's not him trying to be showy or flamboyant in his performance, so much as it's him presenting groove that he wants to do, which doesn't fit into necessarily the kind of music that is more rigidly structured when it comes to most heavy metal, such as the kind of heavy metal that he does with Loudness, where you have a singer and you follow the verse, verse, chorus kind of pattern. This allowed him to have a more open music groove style, and that is very prevalent throughout the entire album, no matter whether we're listening to the grooving opening track, Dancing Siva, even when listening to a song such as Free, which is a more traditional style of almost jazz rock song. It is a fusion piece. It has a definite bass line to it, a more standard bass line to it than a lot of the other songs on the album, which is saying something, because a lot of the songs on Key have Akira playing bass very fluidly, not playing simple progressive lines. He's rather gifted bassist as well as guitarist, and his bass lines are something that come through very prominently in the music. We're going to take a little bit of a listen to an example of his structuring of his guitar work and the layering and the mixture of it with the bass work in a sample from the 4th track on the album. This is called Soft Cream. As you could hear through that sample, there's a great mixture of his guitar work and lead guitar work and rhythm guitar work and the bass work, all just beautifully harmonizing, and it's got a up-tempo to it. It's a really feel-good kind of song. And that's the general tenor and texture to the sonic soundscape of Key. It does have this very overall good feel to it. Akira Takasaki is one of those musicians who is capable of grandiosity in his solo virtuosic performances, but he also is a very rhythm and groove-oriented rock and roller. He really appreciates and has a tendency to lean toward the groove element of heavy metal and rock and roll. And so his mixing the jazz elements and the heavy metal elements together in this album bring out the groove really nicely. And I think that the sample we're going to listen to from the closing track, which is about 10-minute long song called Voodoo Bows, does a marvelous job of showing that as well. So let's give a listen to that as well. Voodoo Bows does a great job of expressing the style of fusion that he tried to put together in this album. But even with other tracks, and probably the heaviest track in the album is the preceding track to the closing track. It's called Runabout, and that song is probably the closest to a traditional loudness style heavy metal song that has more structure to it. But the other songs in the album, Seven Peppers, Jap Gold, Waltz Man, Natural Mind, all of these songs have their own flavors, their own textures to them. They all come across with unique chord structures and different guitar sounds, but they also all have a marvelous sensibility of good feeling and a welcoming, warm feeling to the music. It is an album that wants you to embrace it and feel the warmth that the spirit is bringing out. And that is what Ki stands for in Japanese. It has to do with the spirit. So that's the album Ki from Akira Takasaki in 1994. I give Ki 4.5 out of 5 stars. You can find the album Ki by Akira Takasaki from 1994 on iTunes, probably on Spotify, and if you can't find it there, you can search for it through Google, and I'm sure you'll find some place that you can get it. I'm sure Amazon Music has the remaster, I'm sure of that. So you shouldn't have too much trouble finding it if you want to buy it. I thank you very much for your time and attention, and please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video with your friends through social media networks. And also, please, I would humbly ask you again to consider visiting my Patreon page. Until next time, peace, take good care of yourself, have a great day, bye-bye.